Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening everybody, Militia Man and Crew. It's Monday. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I think everybody's been pretty excited because of all the news that's been coming out. Tonight we're going to focus in on a little bit of just a lot of evidence that supports that Iraq is going into the private sector, and they're taking everybody with them. they're bringing people in like LG, all kinds of different companies from South Korea, different countries. We all know all that, but right now there's an article called Financial Audit Calls for Building Strong and Effective Partnerships Between the Private Sector and the Civil Society. It says a Supervision and Inspection Department of the Securities Commission called on Saturday for building strong and effective partnerships between the private sector and the civil society. It says the choice of this conference to be a platform for cooperation and coordination reflects our deep awareness of the vital role that young people, especially school students, can play in building a brighter future for our dear country. Basically, they're talking about the Securities Authority, and the Securities Commission is basically stating we're building a brighter future for our country. It says here, he says, volunteering is an effective tool to promote community spirit and development leadership among young people and at the heart of our concerns. Through this conference, we seek to strengthen the partnership between the private sector and these promising volunteer initiatives, believing that investing in these young energies is not only a social duty, but a long-term investment in the future of Iraq. Engaging the youth in this time frame, because I mean, what do they have? Like, really close to 50% of their population is in the working age or less, or more, I mean. But anyway, it says the role of the private companies in this context is not limited to financial support only, but extends to providing expertise and guidance and opening horizons for these young people for innovation and creativity. Basically, they're calling on all companies and institutions to be a part of these initiatives and contribute to achieving these noble goals. They say here that the exceptional efforts made by the volunteer team of school students, noting that they prove through their dedication and creativity that Iraqi youth are capable of giving and inspiring whenever they have the opportunity. Basically, everyone's calling on each other to seize the opportunity to build a strong and effective partnerships between the private sector and the civil society to basically take care of the interest of the whole country. So it's fairly obvious, you guys, the private sector is here to stay for Iraq. Iraq's population has doubled in the last 2 decades. We all know that. There's plenty of youth, and now they will have plenty of opportunity with the private sector to be that, I guess, that fountain of youth. That's what's going to be good about this. They're moving forward and they're not stopping. And it's going to be more and more evident as we go, because they're going to have to do what they said they were going to do, and that was to bring purchasing power to the people. And they're supposed to be able to localize their salaries. They're supposed to turn on the oil. They're supposed to show their 2024 budget, the investment side. They're supposed to do all those things. And all that stuff is coming to a head now, because all this in private sector investment that's coming in, you're going to see that. Remember those 3,000 projects that Al-Sudani talked about? They're going to talk about that again too. Here's a gentleman by the name of Al-Assadi. It says the guarantee law for workers moved the labor market and pushed young people towards the private sector. The Minister of Labor and Social Affairs, he says that the International Labor Organization has been to move workers to the organized sector. That's organized sector, I believe, is the private sector. And while he expected significant growth in the number of workers in the private sector by more than 100%, he pointed out that the legislation of the guarantee and pension law for workers moved the labor market and pushed young people into the private sector. It goes on and says that the current government has made the top of the priorities to regulate the economy and the labor market, as several steps have been taken to achieve these goals, including the enactment of new laws and the activation of some previously enacted laws already. One of the most prominent laws passed last year is the Pension and Workers Guarantee Law of 2023, which focused heavily on supporting the labor and private sectors. Gentleman Assadi says, these steps aim to organize work in all sectors and strengthen the national economy. And Iraq approved recommendation number 204 of the International Labour Organization, which provides the transition from work in the informal sector to the organized sector. So they really have a push to focus in on this. It's pretty good. And it goes on, there's plenty of it, but there's a couple of key points still left here is in the coming months and years, there will be an increase in the demand for work in the private sector as the percentage will increase to more than 100% of those working now in the private sector already. So they're just going to double it. And it says, according to the government program, Al-Sudani's ideas and their team, the Ministerial Council of Economics, everybody's been involved in this. In addition to the adoption of the agreement signed by the ministry with the International Labour Organization, I like that part, International Labour Organization, and the coordination between it and the International Labour Organization being on the one hand, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and a number of international organizations on the other hand. All this helped push the Iraqi economy towards more openness and expansion in the private sector and the transition to self-employment and to open economic sector that can support the government's program in its project to strengthen the Iraqi economy. Look, this is not a country that's stranded at sub-penny currency, which is presently at about 0.0076 to the dollar. And for the region that matter, okay, Iraq is just not going to go international at that level. The IMF, the World Bank know full well what I'm talking about because they're part of that plan. It's not only Iraq's project, it's effectively theirs too. It's really coming together, everyone, at this last moment. And you know that there's a holiday tomorrow for Victory Day. And they started it on the 8th, and it runs through the 12th. But the effective date for the main holiday is tomorrow. Suleimania enters a comprehensive strike in protest of the delay in the payment of salaries. So there's unrest, there's pressure coming on all kinds of sides for Iraq to get what they promised up and running. Localization of the salaries will guarantee the citizens their payments on a regular basis and on time. And it will be digital. It will be transparent. There isn't going to be people getting two salaries anymore. They're going to fix that. They're going to finish it by the end of this year. That's not far off. But I'm not saying that's what we're waiting for. But effectively, the whole system will change. And I think everybody that's been bucking the system or taking advantage of the system or even just flat out being fraudulent are going to have a problem. He says in this statement, he says, we demand that salaries of the delayed months be dispersed quickly without any further delay, as the continued delay threatens the educational process and the stability of teachers' lives, stressing for the government to adhere to previous pledges to promote teachers and employees, which were announced back in 2016 and have not yet been implemented due to continued deterioration of the salaries. And here this union calls for full compliance with the decisions of the federal court, stressing that the importance of separating the issue of salaries is a big deal. They go on here, it says, separating those issues from the political disputes and private interests. Okay, so they wanted to separate those two from the political and the private interests. They go on to say that the union stressed the pivotal role of teachers in building a healthy and educated society, noting that the problem does not lie with the teachers, but rather the conditions imposed on them through the delay in their dues. The union affirms that its full commitment of the peaceful civil struggle to achieve teachers' legal and professional rights. The protesters also stress that they will not back down from this strike until the financial dues are paid, warning of the repercussions of the crisis on the educational process and public services in the governance. It says the Kurdistan region calls on the local and central governments to take full responsibility and resolve the crisis urgently to ensure the stability of the educational service institutions. Basically, they have a radical solution that will likely be this localization of the salaries that are related to the 2024 budget that we expect at any time now. Would surely be a fix for the issue, in my opinion. Being in full compliance with the federal court would be the decisive move needed. I think that's pretty heavy, because that is basically what they've stated. The pressure of the people, among other things, looming over the governments, like fines stemming from the lack of oil through the Cyan port, is just one. So there's a lot of pressure that's being put out there financially and socially. So here's the head of the Parliament Finance Committee. We're keen to approve the realistic amendment to the budget that ends the oil dispute with the region. So it says the Parliamentary Finance Committee hosted the head of the Federal Financial Supervision Board and the senior staff to discuss the draft First Amendment to the federal budget law. They go on to say that the committee's keen is to approve the amendment in a realistic and implementable manner in a way that ends the existing dispute between the federal government and the regional government regarding the oil file. It's been a long dispute. It's been well over a year. I think it was in March of 2023. So we're pushing, going into 2 years, really. But for his part, the chairman of the Federal Supervision Bureau reviewed the schedule of financial dues between the federal government and the region, stressing that the documentation of these dues in the Bureau's reports, with addition of notes regarding the delivery of the region's oil and non-oil revenues to the federal government. He goes on and says, the chairman of the Financial Supervision Board says, the stressed for the need for amendment include clear mechanisms for liquidating financial advances before the end of the year to avoid their accumulation. He stressed that the agreement based on this amendment is good and implementable, with the need to address the operations or observations referred to. It says the Financial Supervision Board, again, providing a brief on the progress of the procedures for localizing the salaries of the region's employees, indicating that the localization rate exceeded 80% in the banks accredited by the Central Bank of Iraq. So they're making progress, and they have, maybe they have a little bit left to do, but ultimately it looks like there's no holding back anymore with the localization of these salaries. All of this pressure is clear now. You got, like I said, you got the citizens effectively marching effectively, and then obviously what is it going to do? Those fines we talked about and the other things that they are dealing with, it's just truly a positive sign that Iraq is geared 100% towards going to the private economy. And here's this article, is an interesting one, that says the Central Organization for Standardization and Quality Control grants the Iraq quality mark to the Korean company LG. Why I bring this up, that's private sector, right? International trade. It says that the Organization of Standardization and Quality Control, it says, what are they doing? It says they granted this Iraqi quality market certificate to LG company products. So LG is coming in, and what are they going to be providing? Air conditioners, cooling devices, and electric ovens. They're going to be building about 1 million houses, you guys, or more, possibly millions. He adds that the aim of this mark is to ensure the quality of products entering the Iraqi market that protect the consumer, reduce industrial and commercial fraud of goods. And they also state for the part is the regional manager of LG expressed his happiness in obtaining this quality mark in order to provide these products to the Iraqi people, appreciating the efforts of the agency and its effective role in successfully completing the process of granting the mark for their company's products. Good sign to come of what? International trade. Iraq's going to build, like I said, millions of houses, and LG will likely tap into that market, and big time. First off, they already have thousands of units in the city of, I think it's pronounced Basmara. So look, LG is not new to Iraq. I don't believe. But anyway, here's another article that's talking about the Integrity Commission discloses its activities in the field of disclosures and assets for money inflation in the month of October. Basically, the Federal Integrity Commission revealed today, Monday the 9th, all of its activities in the field of disclosure of assets and the inflation of funds for taxpayers during last October. It goes on and describes how many different employee taxpayers there were, da-da-da-da-da. Bottom line is, it says that this woman says the Performance of Professional Conduct Department made 79 visits to 64 government departments to follow up on performance and professional conduct, e-governance procedures, comprehensive digital transformation, and the transparency and public money protection programs. So what they're doing is they're following the performance, they're following their professional conduct, the governance, e-governance, digital transformation. We all see that. What's that all about? It's about transparency, saving the public's money. These new era systems that they have in place now are going to be able to be transparent. They're going to be able to curb corruption. They're going to be accurate, and they're going to be fast to do the work that they need. And the databases will be probably public through that e-government, and therefore people can track what's really going on with the country. So all of those things to me is basically amazing progress that we've seen over the last 2 years under al-Sudani's watch, and this is all in the news today. Planning the government has proposed or processed, says 1,004 projects. So these are 1,104 projects, but that are above and beyond the Ministry of Planning talking about. The number of contracts and components were processed at 1,104, distributed as 555 for ministries, 549 for the governance, noting that the number of components installed contracts amounted to 3,004 contracts. Distributed as 1,482 contracts and components for ministries and 1,522 contracts and components for governance, according to the latest statistics. So right there is basically another affirmation. Al-Sudani was talking about 3,000 projects that are stalled. This is all going to be part of the investment budget, you guys. They're going to have this all allocated. They're going to have the numbers for all these different things. And it already sounds like they've already geared for it because they have that much on the table. Iraq is moving towards developing the private sector. Another article. The term private sector development is broad, especially in Iraq, as the work environment there needs a lot of movement and transformation from directed economy to a free economy, more than a flexible knowledge economy. It says Al-Durrag points out that the appropriate legal frame has been established for issues not covered by the applicable laws and that require the enactment of new laws on management, investment, operation, protecting investment, providing guarantees, and others, which enhance indicators of ease of business, in addition to the governance of all institutions and entities related to the work of the private sector. Pretty sure that you guys, they've already started this stuff, and I said al-Sudani's been knocking it dead for like the last 2 years. But anyway, he points out the importance of training, qualification, establishing real partnerships to develop expertise and improve basic infrastructure, noting the start of building what is not available, completing the construction of the industrial cities, the science parks, at the government level, and providing maps of investment that influence the most important development goals. He goes on to say that measures were taken unanimously by many officials and experts, as it is the pillar on which the economy in the country is based, stressing that the private sector has begun to grow during the current stage and needs care, development, and guidance from the state and its institutions, and the state's door is open to everything that benefits this sector and can advance and flourish through it. Government plan is to promote and to move from an oil rent economy to the non-oil revenue streams that will come from the private sector. There's no doubt that Iraq's opening up to the world. The private sector is going to drive Iraq's future growth levels to where we've never seen before. To me, it's like, buckle up, you guys. This is where we're at, guys and gals. This is really getting really, really good as far as I can tell. So and the last thing I want to say is that the Prime Minister today talked about Victory Days become a milestone in our people's journey. I'm just going to read this one first paragraph. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani confirmed today, Monday, that Victory Day is a day when all Iraqis are proud of what they have achieved over the last 7 years ago and resounding victory over the defeat of ISIS, stressing that Victory Day has become a milestone in the path of our people. So let's see what happens in the coming days, everybody. But I think that if you can see the writing on the wall, Iraq's going to the private sector, and we have to see where the pipeline's going to get started again, the oil, the salary is going to get localized. They're going to need an exchange rate to take care of all those things. All those contracts, they're going to need a valuation of the country's true, real, effective exchange rate, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing it all right now and in real time. Will it happen in the next few days? I'm not sure, but we're sure looking at some powerful information that we haven't seen before, especially right now. Okay, so enjoy your night. Thank you for being with us. Militia Man and Crew, we appreciate all you guys do. But don't forget, you guys, turn on your notifications so that you get notified for upcoming stuff. We're going to keep you posted. Samson throws down huge information on a regular basis. So yes, don't forget to do all that and keep your eyes peeled, because you never know what you're going to come up with next. And so hit that like, subscribe button. I appreciate it when you guys do that. And obviously, of course, thanks again for all the kind donations that you guys bring. Thank you very much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.